The question I am going to attempt to answer in today's video is very simple. Is Cyberpunk 2077 worth your time in 2023? Have all of the patches and promises and hopes and dreams and mea culpas and lessons learned that CD Projekt Red spouted to us over the last few years post-launch actually worked their way into the game, and is the game actually fun to play? So for me, I bought the game at launch. If you recall, I did a video review on it then, and I said that the world building was phenomenal, but the game was clearly half-baked, not ready for prime time. There are thousands of YouTube videos out there that exist showing off some of the horrendous gameplay performance and AI issues and weird pathing and sequence breaking bugs that prevented you from completing the story and the missions. This game was just not there. CD Projekt Red fell on the sword many times, released a bunch of updated videos and blogs and such, and tried to win over the people. They even went back and reworked The Witcher 3 to get in your good graces because they knew everybody liked that game. So they said, hey, we'll fix that one, and then we'll be in a little better place to, win you over. So did they win me over? I would say largely yes. However, it is far from perfect. And let me just stop by saying there's no such thing as a perfect game. I know. There are bound to be issues. Look no further than Ubisoft when it comes to open world isms and nonsense that could have happened. And when you are running such a fully fledged simulation as Cyberpunk 2077, and as you are trying to piece together all of the AI and background noise, whether it be cars driving or conversations or phone calls or advertisements or player inputs into the universe, there's bound to be something somewhere that just doesn't add up. I wish the game developer did a little better job of hiding that from us, because I feel like they didn't. And sometimes those errors are front and center in a very drastic, genre-breaking, experience-breaking kind of way, where the ambiance is just totally it just dissolves before your very eyes. However, I have had 0 crashes. I have had 0 progression bugs. Now, sometimes the game does get confused, and you can see the AI almost like resetting in their head what they need to do. I've heard the same phone call once or twice. I've had AI pathing, and they go back to a pre-known point and then turn around and walk back because something went wrong in the matrix. I think you're going to have to accept that not all of that is going to be weeded out, because I think CD Projekt Red has largely considered this game done and has moved on to greater ventures like the DLC, for example. So I understand all of that, and I hope you understand all of that, but it does run a lot better. So when I got this game, I was still running my 2080 Ti Founders Edition. I was playing on Ultrawide. I had to turn off all of the cute ray tracing, and all of the bells and whistles had to go away in order to get about a 65 frame per second experience, obviously frame capped at 60. It was smooth enough to play with mostly high settings, and I enjoyed it. Little did I know the game was going to be a total piece of crap, and ultimately I kind of had to push it away and say, I'll come back later. Well, here I am now, running a GeForce 4070 Ti, the tough gaming model by Asus. I am now getting 120 locked frames per second, everything on absolute max settings, including ray tracing set to as full as it can possibly be. So I've definitely gotten a better experience. How much of that is the generational leap in my card versus the game being refined? Well, it's probably a little bit of both, right? There's probably some performance issues that had to be worked out. So I can speak from a place of pure aesthetics, sound design and level design. It is awesome. It is one of the, and still remains to me, one of the most immersive games I have ever played. You will absolutely feel like you are a member of Night City. the way the advertisements and the street lights and the rain-soaked streets welcome you in and get you lost in the world, that still exists. And that is great, because that was really one of the best features of the kind of core experience. Now, all the other bugs and issues, well, they're still going to rear their ugly head from time to time, and you're just going to kind of have to accept it, which sucks. So I don't know if you were noticing, but when I was fighting that boss a moment ago, AI has this tendency to kind of teleport around the map. This happens often. I have read that some people say, no, this is by design because the AI is so powerful and advanced, and they want you to feel like you're fighting such a tough enemy that it's designed to be hard for you to progress. I don't know if I believe that. In other instances, like what you just saw a couple seconds ago, I am just defeated a boss with a ninja sword. I am now opening a common like atrium area to go and to make sure, you know, that the mission is completed. And guess what happens? I get one-shotted by a random turret. So there are still balancing issues in this game where you will be seamlessly cruising and bruising and destroying people with ease, and then instantly get one-shotted by something in the same room as all the other lower type enemies that you have around you. And it's confusing because this happens a lot. I have to feel like this was not intentional. I have to feel like the difficulty of this level was geared towards what my character level was, or my skill set, or whatever, and the game did its best to try to match me to that. But there's still artifacts where they throw in these relics of either harder difficulty or whatever, and these enemies will just absolutely shred you. It's going to happen again right now. I don't understand it. You'll be doing manhunts where you're fighting low-tier enemies, or you know, the difficulty doesn't appear to be very hard, where they're enemies you could scan, and you'll turn the corner and you'll be instantly surrounded by a group of skull difficulty enemies, which is basically like the hardest enemies in the game. That happens a lot. And I think that really does break a lot of the experience, because you don't really know where you can and can't go, and you're always on edge. I don't want to have to constantly scan every single enemy type when I enter a room to make sure that I'm able to fight them. I just want to play the game, and I want the game to be the game in the background, figure out where I should or shouldn't be, figure out what I should or shouldn't be doing, and just let me play accordingly. Now, I do get a little bit smarter here because I realize I should probably just hack the gun and turn it off. At that point, at least I can use some of my other abilities and say, ah, yes, let me disable the gun in such a way that now I can proceed. So there are still lots of ways to tackle these challenges, and there are still really clever ways to play through it. You don't have to be a ninja sword wielding maniac like me. You can be somebody who uses high power weaponry, or you can stealth your way through things, which all phenomenal ways to play. Or, as you just saw, the enemies will just seemingly vanish out of thin air because I don't know why. Now, this happens often. Not to the point that it's as blatant as that. A lot of times it's like you're in a room with 3 enemies and you kill one and the other 2 just decide that they don't want to fight anymore and they yeet themselves out of existence. But it does happen a lot. And it just goes to show that despite all of the effort that CD Projekt Red has put into this experience, it still suffers quite a bit when it comes to the world building. Now, was the game a game-breaking bug, what you just saw? No, it wasn't. I would argue me getting one-shotted by an enemy was probably not the most fun thing, especially having to get one-shotted multiple times. However, once I had a viable solution in hacking the gun and progressing, well, no, the game didn't like that. It just deleted the enemies. You're going to get a lot of that. So the game is not finished by any stretch of the imagination. The game is not in a perfect state despite what other people want you to think about it. Yes, it's better. Again, no hard crashes for me, at least on PC. But the bugs still exist, and they do hit hard when they do hit. Now, in terms of the story, now that I've actually gotten to play through more than just the opening mission or two, is convoluted at best. I don't want to give any story spoilers away because I don't think that's fair to people who haven't yet played the experience. I will say that the game is not what you think it is. And sometimes that's a good thing. In this case, I think the game gets a little too Inception-y, where it's looking at itself, and you're finding these nests of reality that kind of make the story somewhat non-linear to follow. I feel like there could have been other ways to explore and grow and make Night City a much more valuable asset than what happened in this game. But it's at least technically playable now, and you can have fun with it. I would say that you owe it to yourself, if you haven't yet played this game, you absolutely owe it to yourself to try it out, at least if you can get it at like a budget price. I would not pay full price for this game, despite how beautiful it is and the probably, I'm going to say 25 hours of like golden pathing time there is to experience the story. Not to mention the just exhaustive list of side activities and missions and challenges and collectibles to uncover along the world. That doesn't even include the augmentations you may want to hunt out for your own character and rare weapon materials to upgrade your stuff to make it the best, or to replay the game multiple times to at least see the 3 different intros, depending on if you're a street kid or a corpo, for example. There is definitely some linear stories here. The endings break off into some linear options as well. There's definitely a lot to sink your teeth into, but despite all that, despite everything I just said, and hyping up the game and that value and the package of time you have, it's so clear to me that this game is just sitting on a very loose set of like stable bones. And I feel like it's not going to take much for the house of cards to come crashing down. Just make sure you didn't pay full price for it when that happens, because I suspect as more and more systems are investigated, like the police spawning through walls and AI dialogue overlapping each other, sometimes 3 or 4 conversations simultaneously. Or as you're opening a chest and somebody calls, you're still in the chest prompt, but the game thinks you're in a phone call and trying to manipulate all of those things. Those are definitely things that are going to frustrate you, which to me do not validate a full game price. But if you want to go for the ride and you're a Keanu Reeves super fan, well, you're going to get a lot of him. You're going to get a lot of ninja gunplay. You're going to get a lot of stealth gameplay. And I think if you spend some time investing in the world and you can look the other way, which you're going to have to do quite often, I think Cyberpunk is actually a decent-ish experience to play. I want to hear from you guys in the thoughts below. Are you back to Cyberpunk in 2023? Have you gone back to try it? Or like so many of my friends, did you initially feel burnt out and uninstall promptly? Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.